Hey guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We are your hosts, Leah and Michelle. Today is the 18th of May, 2018. Now, normally, because it's Friday and 6 p.m., even though we're a little bit late, we would be doing our weekly roundup. Unfortunately, we have another tragedy to bring to you, a school shooting that has taken place in Santa Fe, Texas, at a high school by a young man named Demetrios. I don't even know how to say his last something. Apparently he had some issues and he was being picked on. It was roughly around 7:30, 8 o'clock this morning.
Pull the fire alarm.
And he walks in with a trench coat.
Yeah. So we're going to get into some details. Let me start off with some videos to kind of give you guys a feel of what's going on here. And then we're going to delve into maybe motive, the fact that he was known to be weird and they all seem to be kids who were known to be weird.
Right.
The shooting suspect identified as 17-year-old Demetrios Pogortzis. Here's what we know right now. The Texas Governor Greg Abbott is saying that the shooting suspect was armed with a shotgun and a .38 caliber revolver, that neither of the weapons used legally were possessed by the shooter. In other words, he shouldn't have had them. It's believed they were owned by his father and may have been taken without his dad's knowledge. We are also learning that at least 2 other people are being questioned in connection with the shooting that has left at least 10 people dead and another 10 injured, including a police officer. So much to get into, so much we don't know. Welcome, everybody. I'm Neil Cavuto, and this is Your World. The latest now from Casey Stiegel on where they're going now. Casey.
And Neil, the name of the suspect in custody, the 17-year-old, is the only name being released right now. You mentioned that police do have 2 others in custody. However, they are being classified as persons of interest at this point. Not clear if they are involved with this deadly shooting that happened here this morning, but they are being questioned by authorities. Let's give you a timeline here. Eyewitnesses say the gunfire erupted in the middle of first period at Santa Fe High School. Eyewitnesses say the fire alarm went off. Now, it's not clear if the shooter may have activated the fire alarm to draw people out and make them targets, or if somebody pulled it to alert the emergency and get students and faculty evacuated quickly. Police, as we said, have identified the suspect as this kid, 17-year-old Demetrios Pogortzis. He is in custody. Investigators say he had 2 weapons with him. Both belonged to his father, and both were acquired legally. Police also say Pogortzis had planted explosive devices like Molotov cocktails and pipe bombs, not only around the school itself, but they've located some explosive material in his car and possibly at homes connected to the suspect as well.
Homes connected to the suspect is very interesting. They're going to need to get a search warrant, but because he's a juvenile, because he's 17, they're going to need to get a search warrant for his parents, which makes it a little bit more sticky. So I'm going to play this clip here.
When you say homes interesting, what you are referring to, for those of you that may have missed that, is that he probably comes from a broken family. You know, most of us only have one home, unless you come from a broken family.
Texas, that is a Houston Fox affiliate. What have you learned, Ivory?
Well, Neil, you know, it was between 7:30 and 8 a.m. that the shooter, we are told by law enforcement, walked into that school and opened fire just as that first period of classes was beginning. Well, we talked to a high schooler who passed that boy in the halls just before he opened fire. He described the boy's outfit, that long military-type trench coat, military-type boots, and the T-shirt saying "Born to Kill." Now, the boy we talked to and a couple other kids we talked to said he wore that trench coat every day to school, but it was the first time they had seen him wearing the T-shirt with that chilling message on it. A check of the alleged shooter's Facebook page shows that one of the most recent photos he posted was a picture of that shirt saying that he customized this saying on it, "Born to Kill." Now, we talked to some of the kids who knew the alleged shooter. They described him as a quiet boy, but not at all a hateful boy. We talked to one fellow classmate who said he was on the junior varsity football team and that the coaches and fellow students would pick on him. In fact, the student told us that the coaches...
Just stop right there for a second. You want to stop school shootings? Every single school shooter that I know of has some sort of issues with the people there. Cruz was picked on at school. Mm-hmm. They picked on him since 6th grade.
There was some footage that had said that there were students here that said that the coaches and other students would often pick on this young man.
She just said that.
No, for how he smelled.
We're getting to that.
I'm just saying, this is not... Chris Holman went live earlier about this. He has family that...
I am so angry right now.
...is down in Texas. And when he was talking about it, he said, listen... Kids that would treat each other the way that kids do in school, in high school today, is psychotic.
Oh, it is psychotic.
He said, I don't know what happens to them. Maybe when they turn 22, 23, they're not as psychotic anymore. And that's true. I think maybe being in a dose of real world.
No. It's like the building. It's the Lord of the Flies.
Exactly.
It's when
it's so true.
We raise animals, right?
Exactly.
So if you give them more space... They're not going to pick on each other, but if the more you tighten the space, the more you confine them, the more you starve them of exercise, they go cray-cray.
They do.
So, yes, it's the shooter's fault for shooting.
Yes.
But we always have to look at motive. Mm-hmm. And you can drive someone insane.
Yes.
And we all know in school that one kid that was picked on, or two kids, or a handful of kids, that were picked on, and you can push them to a point where if they don't have Jesus and they don't have God and they don't have a way to get that anger out or pain out, this is what leads. Here's the thing: school creates school shootings.
You want to stop school shootings?
Creates school shootings.
Stop schools.
Schools create school
I'm calling
shooters.
for a ban on all schools.
I am too, man. Schools, literally, the environment, it's like that pressure that builds up. We don't see school shootings every school, right? Mm-hmm. But in the right circumstances, it's like a tornado, right? We don't see tornadoes everywhere.
Yeah.
But when you have the right circumstances mixed together, you literally can create a violent person who will go and shoot people.
Yes.
I'm going to play that again. The coaches and the other players would pick on him.
And do you know why it's the coaches? Because in society, we have created... so a lot of times coaches are our age or older, right? But they don't... people they're in their 60s are retiring. Anybody kind of beyond that or before that or whatever is immature of mind.
Oh, sure.
Because they were raised in this
same
godless
environment.
Exactly. So we have these 12-year-old coaches.
Right.
Not every single one of them, but
but this was a perfect storm.
Exactly.
This was a perfect storm that created a school shooting. Mm-hmm. And I hope those coaches are on their knees praying to God, saying, I'm sorry I helped create this shooter.
Yes.
A fellow classmate who said he was on the junior varsity football team and that the coaches and fellow students would pick on him. In fact, the student told us that the coaches would even talk about the way that this alleged shooter smelt right in front of him, picking on him in that way. Now, these students never suspected violence. Of course, it is later on that we are now learning of the journaling he was doing about killing others and himself, and that he used apparently his father's weapons to do so. Neil?
Amazing. All right.
So there are people who are inherently evil. But children are children, they're being formed, right?
Exactly.
So your mind can be trained up to do things. Like we look at Palestine, right? Those kids were formed to be killers and to grow up and to fight like that.
Yes.
Okay? Your brain is literally forming. In Africa, you can train kids to become killers. And so there's this perfect storm of loss and sometimes it's violence. Music, like the Columbine kids. The Columbine kids were picked on. Right. And there's just this perfect storm. And so we always have to look at the why. We still don't know why with Stephen Paddock, right? With the terror attack.
With the Las Vegas shooting, she means.
Yeah. With the terror attack, we know the ideology because it's a mindset that leads people to kill. Yeah. Right? It's an ideology. It's a thought process. It's somebody that pushes somebody over the edge. Right? A lot of Muslims are killing infidels because of what's going on in Afghanistan or Syria. So they're being pushed in that direction. Right. Doesn't mean you just forgive and forget. No. But if you don't identify what leads somebody to... Here's the thing. There is there's a bridge between suicide and suicide and killing other people. Murder suicide, right? And when you're just at a loss and you're so angry, people just snap.
Yeah.
You know, like we had a domestic violence incident in our neighborhood. Nobody would have suspected that this man would shoot himself and his wife. Right? So situations just can push people to do crazy, insane things. All right. So Santa Fe high school killer wore Antifa and Columbine hammer and sickle pin. So at least 8 people are dead. We don't know.
I think there are 10 at this point.
Here, Demetrius had a Facebook page. It's already been deleted. Students confirm that this is a school shooter. Now, he has this pen here. It was wearing a jacket with the Antifa terrorist hammer and sickle emblem. So there it is, the Antifa stars that are sold on Amazon. And Mike Cernovich was reporting on that. I don't know. Let's see.
What news today? School shooting. Very sad.
That's a long one, so it is a very sad day. Okay, so Cassandra Fairbanks from the Gateway Pundit, I love her on Twitter, by the way. She's so awesome. Noted that the killer's pin was also worn at Columbine. Here she is, and then so here's the Columbine with the hammer and sickle. So the whole communist Antifa mindset that goes back all the way to the late 90s. So that's
La Resistance is saying that it was 10 students and 1 teacher, that we have gone up again in the number, which is incredibly, incredibly tragic.
Yes. So here's the video I was telling you about trying to get the search warrant.
We're just getting some breaking news information about the shooter. We are able to report that the name of the Santa Fe high school shooter in custody is Demetrios Pagortiz. This is according to law enforcement. Date of birth October 12th, 2000, which officially does, as authorities say, make him 17 years old. And he does reside here in Santa Fe, Texas. What do you make?
Well, the juvenile part is really going to come into play here with respect to the expediency that law enforcement can get a search warrant. If being a juvenile, and if he's living in the custody of his parents, that means that it's not his location they need to get a search warrant on, it's going to be his parents. And a search warrant has to be very specific. You can't just say, I want to search the entire home. You have to search it for certain things. They have to be very specific in that. So if it's the entire home they're going for and not just his room, it's going to take a little bit longer, but they'll get it.
Oh, we're just getting some breaking news.
So there's obviously some diaries. Let's see. In an afternoon press conference, I'm going to bring to you Texas Governor Greg Abbott revealed more details. The shooter used a sawed-off shotgun and a .38 revolver. I believe that we're now probably going to see everyone just banning all guns, because it was the AR-15. Now it's shotguns and .38.
And so that's really interesting, by the way, that it is a
conspiracy theory world,
shotgun. I don't know, because it wasn't an AR-15. I don't know that it fits the leftist false flag narrative that we often see. Like, I kind of feel like there was something up with Cruz in Florida, and I don't know that I'm not getting that same feeling here. I just get the feeling
the Columbine kid,
exactly, like a kid that really was just picked on, and then like Chris Holman was talking about in his video earlier. I say homeschool, pull your kids out. That's the answer. Stop schools, you'll stop school shootings. But he did address in there are ways that, and we talked about this during the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting in Parkland. But there are ways that you can keep people from getting into the schools with weapons.
Right.
All right. Those are the measures that need to be taken in the interim while the system gets fixed.
Right. So, he was picked on by the school's coaches, and he wore a trench coat to school every day, even in 90-degree weather. And so here's the thing.
That's not normal.
When you have odd behavior, you're not allowed to profile people anymore. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But I do. If I see somebody weird, my radar goes up.
No, but I knew these kids, okay, in high school. I don't know You kind of did a little bit, but I did specifically.
I knew some of them, and you did.
I befriended everybody, so I was the type of person. If I saw the weird kids, I sought them out because I wanted to be their friend, because I kind of wanted to minister to them. It didn't work out so well. I kind of just got drugged down, but that was my intentions anyway. But you can peg these people, and you know they are not okay.
Right.
They are not sound-minded. They do not have good things going on in their lives.
Right. Exactly. And if somebody had sat down with this kid, here's the thing. If anyone had sat down at night and like talked to, like our mom, like if things were going bad, like she talked to us every night.
Right.
Talk to your kids. Talk to your kids. That's what I would tell parents. It's like you want to blame the schools. Mm-hmm. You want to blame guns. But parents aren't talking to their kids. Everybody turns on the television. They turn on their parents. Your job is to help raise, not just physically but mentally. Like, sit down. What is going on in your life today?
Yeah.
If you're like being picked on at school, I want to know about it. Well, how are you doing? If a parent sees that kid wear a trench coat every day to school, and thinks that we can just go on la la land and this is normal, that parent isn't normal. Right?
I guess I just have a bit of a slightly different of opinion, and not really, but it's bringing me another thought to my brain, I guess I should say. You're saying if your kid is doing this, then you should sit down with your kid, make sure you're talking with your kids. From personal experience, I know that if I was going through something, and my mom was really open with us, if there were things that I wanted to keep from my mom because of the public school atmosphere, I was just going to keep them from her. It wasn't until I was homeschooled that, being away from that Lord of the Flies atmosphere, that my mom was really able to draw more out of me. So if your child is in public school,
pain and doing bad things.
No, I still think that I still think that my point is, if your child is in public school, you can talk to them, and you should. And you probably will get somewhere, but never for a second think that you know everything that's going on in that child's life, because as soon as they walk through the door of the public school, the government owns them and their minds.
Right.
And they will keep stuff from you.
Right. But I'm saying, honestly, honest to God, if this parent had to know there's something cray-cray with their kid, all right? And any loving parent can draw out that kind of pain. Yeah. Hey, what's going on in your life? Tell me. What's going on? I love you. You look like things aren't going so well. Like a parent that's involved, that's like talking, even public school kids, the parent can talk and tell you what, what's going on. They can't fix it. They might not be able to fix it. But they should have known. So, the suspect is in custody, after killing, 10 people and wounding, a dozen. So CNN shared a screenshot of the shooter's Facebook page before it was taken down. So I'm going to see if I can make that. I love how they do these things, and I can't make them bigger. So I'm going to try to get some of those pictures. Let's see. He was,
were you in Zero Hedge for that?
Yeah. So Cassandra, what she actually said was, Demetrios was a Columbiner. He had the same button as Dylan, who wore what is worn on his shoe during the Columbine massacre. Lots of Columbiners wear this button. And so that's kind of a new thing for me. I didn't know I kind of knew there was a cult of Columbine, but there's a cult of kids who feel, totally out.
So this is the photo that Leah was trying to make big, so you guys can look at that there. I don't know what all is in this picture. It's still really small. Do you even know what we're looking at?
No, I don't. Sorry.
But that's all we have to go on. Just wanted to show you guys that.
All right, so let's go to this video here from Governor.
At this time, will not be identified. As you probably have heard, the weapons used in this attack, there are two weapons. One was a shotgun, and the other is a .38 revolver. Neither of these weapons were owned or legally possessed by the shooter. It's my information that both of these weapons were obtained by the shooter from his father.
It's my information at this time that the father legally owned these weapons. I have no information at this time whether or not the father was aware that his son had taken these weapons from the father. I do want to thank all of the...
Greg.
At this time will not be identified. The weapons used, there are 2 weapons.
Sorry.
And the other is a neither of these weapons possessed by the shooter. Is
okay,
my...
so that's it. I think that was just a short clip. There was more. I think I had another clip here. Here we go.
People helping us respond to it is one of the senators from the state of Texas to the federal government, and that is Ted Cruz, who at this time will take the mic.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you for your strong leadership of the state, particularly in times of crisis. Once again, Texas has seen the face of evil. What happened this morning here in Santa Fe defies words. The agony, the hell that parents, that this community is going through is unimaginable. Every one of us that's a parent that sends our sons or daughters off to school in the morning, to have this horror greet them. This community is grieving mightily, and the entire state of Texas, the entire country is grieving along with these parents, grieving along with these students. There have been too damn many of these. Texas has seen too many of these. We've seen deranged murderers, whether this morning here, whether a deranged bomber in Austin murdering innocent people, or whether 6 months ago in Sutherland Springs, another evil criminal murdering innocent people. 2 weeks ago, I was back in Sutherland Springs at the dedication, the rededication of that church, on the 6-month anniversary of that horrific crime, and the word of encouragement that I would give to the people of Santa Fe as you deal with this unimaginable grief is that in the wake of this horror, that community and this community came together, leaned on each other, stood side by side with each other, cried on each other's shoulders, held each other, prayed for each other, helped each other stand up. And I can tell you, in Sutherland Springs, 6 months after the horror, there was hope and joy. There was grief and mourning and loss, but there was also hope and joy. I'll tell the people of Santa Fe, you are right now being lifted up at this instant in prayers by millions of people across Texas, across the country, and across the world. And in the public policy arena, we need to be doing everything humanly possible to stop this from ever happening again. To stop violent criminals. To stop them from getting firearms. To stop them from getting access to schools. To incarcerate them when they try to illegally purchase firearms. In the days ahead, we'll discover more about this particular shooter. About what red flags, what warning signs there may have been or there may not have been. And I'm sure we'll have a robust conversation about what more could have been done to prevent this horrible atrocity.
Robust. It's going to be pretty...
But Texas, as a state, will make it through this. This community, Santa Fe, will make it through this, leaning on each other, praying for each other, standing with each other. We will make it through this. And we thank the incredible heroes that we saw today, those in law enforcement that rushed into harm's way, teachers, students. We know that we are going to hear the bravery that manifested in the face of evil. Bravery that we know was done, at least in some instances, at great cost and great sacrifice, including the sacrifice of people's own lives. And so we celebrate that bravery, that courage. At the same time, we grieve the horror of this mass murder.
This is really sad, guys. It's
So Stacy says, another senseless act of evil by a crazed, insane individual. These are all satanic and inspired by an antichrist spirit that seeks to kill, steal, and destroy.
Amen.
Jesus is the answer. Laws do not stop evil.
So here is, amen, Stacy. Here is custom T-shirt. That's his post, and 2 people put angry heads on it. It's Born to Kill. And duster, hammer and sickle equal rebellion. Rising sun equals kamikaze tactics. Iron cross is bravery. Baphomet equals evil. This was his Facebook post, and I wish I had gotten to it before, but
somebody had pointed out here, and I was watching Alex Jones earlier today as well, and had heard this.
Like,
it is satanic. It is definitely a devil worship type.
His trench coat, the kamikaze tactics, okay, so here's the thing. He was telling everybody he was getting ready to do this.
Yeah.
Like, he was wanting somebody to stop him.
Yeah.
You get a shirt, post it on Facebook, Born to Kill. You post this junk, right? And
is anybody paying attention to me? Does anybody care that I might do this? Is there anybody that watches my feed or looks into my life enough to go, hey, dude, what's up?
Nobody commented on it. He has no friends on Facebook. Right? Nobody, and here's the thing. Obviously, I think it was April 30th. He's been planning this and planning it and hoping, I'm guessing, against hope, that somebody...
Well, you say planning, and I'm going April 30th. Wow, that wasn't... I mean, when did he probably... That's not that long ago. Right. I mean, seriously, we're looking at 18, 19 days. I mean...
But here's the thing. Like, Facebook is all about, like, checking out... Getting rid of hate speech and violent content. Mm-hmm. But the hammer and sickle... Oh, that's not violent, is it? Even though it represents mass murder.
Right.
To everybody who sees the hammer and sickle.
Right.
It represents control and murder. I mean, it just does. Yeah. Okay? The Baphomet equals evil. Baphomet, like, it's seriously, I mean, but here's the thing. You go and you watch Katy Perry. Or you see, Jay-Z. Mm-hmm. They use these imageries in their music.
Right.
They use Satan. They use this imagery, and it's like the whole Illuminati thing.
Yeah.
And if you go down that road, it goes down into evil. I wouldn't be surprised if he has the Aleister Crowley book somewhere. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And listens to Led Zeppelin or something like that. Here's the thing. It's not going to cause everyone to turn into a satanic killer, but it might just cause somebody to become a crazy killer. So, update, shooter has been identified, and let's see, here's some of the other crazy things. We're just bringing to you guys everything that I can get my hands on. So...
Stuart the Brit says, nobody ever says just how cowardly these attacks are. In Britain, also, we were taught not to be cowards, protect the innocent and the defenseless. Where has that gone? And I think that we need to address the societal shift that has created broken teens. It's very simple to look at our broken society health-wise. You can just see people walking around 30 years ago. We weren't shaped the way that we are shaped. We weren't obese the way that we were obese. We weren't depressed like we're depressed. We can look at that physical thing that we can put our finger on. But mentally... As a society, we are more deranged, more depraved, more depressed, more narcissistic than ever.
Rainbow heart as a dude?
That's a good question.
Maybe he was molested. There's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. You never know what has piled on someone to make them take an act like this.
I don't know what this is. CTH hula who? Power. So he also has a Nazi symbol. So he obviously, here's the thing. Here's intellectuals, right, who want to break this thing down. You can't have a Nazi symbol and a hammer and sickle. You can if you're just trying to be plain out evil.
Right.
Right? Like, oh, he was a Nazi. Oh, he was a commie.
Well, they say he's a Nazi, then of course he's a Trump supporter. They had tried to play that immediately coming out. Like, huh? Seriously?
So here's the Baphomet, I guess, and he was doing his thing, man. The account also showed the owner had a Satanist background. All right, so when we talk about these things, like whether you believe in the devil or angels, there is evil.
Yep.
And evil is represented by the devil.
Right.
By Baphomet, by these satanic imagery things. That's how, like, it's a manifestation of evil. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right.
I know it's satanic. And it's just a symbol that gets people to, it's like playing with a Ouija board. It, like, opens up this world. But here's the thing. It's like,
so Chris says he probably just wore that stuff for shock value. And so I think you're right, but I think that it goes beyond shock value. I think he wore it for shock value to try to get attention, to try to have somebody come to him and say, are you okay? This is not normal. You know what I mean?
So yeah, here's Instagram, and here's the thing. It's so crazy. Like, I don't do Instagram, but these young people do. And he says, "Hi, FUCKers," and he posts a picture of a knife and a gun and a flashlight. Parents, are you monitoring? I mean, it's his full name. Are you monitoring? And this is a thing.
And who are these people that are going back and forth?
Oh,
with
hi,
him?
Mark.
No,
Well,
don't read it. You can't read it because it gets weird.
I guess someone has read the Turner Diaries.
Don't read it out loud, or you'll end up not happy with what you're saying.
Well, I think it's important to know what was going on. And I don't know if maybe those are, new. Yeah, these are new comments. So we posted this. An image of a squished frog.
Okay.
That's nice. Why do they kill animals? They do that. They seem to kill animals first.
Because and I will tell you exactly why.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell our viewers. You may know why. They may not know why. Taking a life, even a very small life, okay, besides a bug, is a difficult thing to do. The first time I ever killed a mole or a snake in the yard, it was difficult. You saw blood on the shovel and you cried.
I cried after killing a mole once. Yeah.
Okay, killing the chickens, butchering the hogs. When I hit that deer and I had to put it out of its misery because I had my knife on me, it was a very difficult thing to do. You have to overcome something in your mind. And so in order for these kids, like we see with Cruz, who was killing animals, you have to be able to taking any kind of life is hard. It's not easy to do. So that's why I think you see a lot of times these kids it's kind of like a challenge in their mind. Can I do this? And then they do it. And then it feeds them like a drug. And then they have to keep progressing.
They're playing this one over and over again.
I managed to keep calm through it all. There was another girl who was just freaking out. They were struggling really hard to keep her calm. It was really scary.
Was there a part of you that was like, this isn't real, this would not happen in my school?
No, there wasn't.
Why so?
It's been happening everywhere. I've always kind of felt like eventually it was going to happen here too.
You want to know, that statement is very significant to me. Do you want to know why? Because I believe that in the spirit, we're Christians, right? In the spirit, sometimes you just know.
And you can tell what's going on. You can tell the satanic.
You can feel it.
The vibe that's going on where you're at.
I don't think there's many of us as adults that say, I always felt like there was going to be a school shooting at my school, but there wasn't. If you feel like there was going to be a school shooting at your school, let's wake up and pay attention to that.
Right.
That might be something that is
And it's
worth
getting a
noting.
lot of play, and this whole school walkout thing, it's not happening everywhere, by the way.
Yeah.
It's not happening everywhere. The statistics, you're more likely to die texting and driving.
Oh, absolutely.
My friend got shot in the art hall, and as soon as the alarms went off, everybody just started running outside, and next thing you know, everybody looks, and you hear boom, 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 and I just ran as fast as I could to the nearest forest so I could hide, and I called my mom.
Wow.
Expressing. Jana had said in here, my kids used to be in public school. We pulled them 7 years ago. Best decision ever. We had a horrible experience with public schools and decided we were done letting the village help raise our kids.
Thank you, Jana. Yeah.
As Resistance Chicks viewers, I know many of you still send your kids to public schools. And I know that a lot of you say, I can't. It's too hard. It's just, you don't understand, Michelle. It's impossible. Nothing is impossible. You can do it. You can make it happen. And I would encourage you, and it's not for school shootings because Leah just talked about the statistics here, right? But these things are continuing to happen. They didn't happen like this when we were kids. Columbine was pretty much the first.
Yeah, it's like more like
what is, so the school shooting is the symptom we're kind of seeing. It's something that you can kind of put your finger on.
Exactly.
The underlying thing of what is taking place in these indoctrination centers all across America is creating zombies. It's creating these broken children.
And here's the
That's why you need to pull your kids.
And it's the same thing with the indoctrination of the religion that shall not be named.
Correct.
It creates violent people. Now, think about this. The shooting in like Sutherland Springs. That guy went through public schools.
He did.
So it's not just enough to get out of public school. The brainwashing here's the thing. 50s and 60s, before that, school shootings didn't happen.
Yeah.
Something changed.
And they've always had guns. Like we talked about with several of these other, people have brought this up. There were kids that brought guns to school to show off what they got for Christmas.
Right.
And it wasn't a thing.
People
It wasn't like,
them in the back of their
brought your gun to school.
The thing about this being a shotgun blows the whole AR-15 thing out of the water.
Right.
Because you can kill people with a shotgun, and you can kill people with a .38. And everybody's saying we want to get the AR-15s off the market. But you're never going to stop evil. You have to stop what's going on inside of somebody's heart. And here's the thing that the liberals never want to talk about, and the left never wants to talk about. They took God out of the schools in the 1960s. And what does that mean? They literally, a vacuum went out, and God left. Love left. They literally made it illegal to pray and to read your Bible and to teach kids. Like, here's the thing. We are a Christian nation. It's okay, beyond what people say about the separation of church and state, to teach children that God loves them.
Yeah.
To teach children that God is watching them. Here's the thing. Your teachers are allowed to say that Santa Claus is watching you. Mm-hmm. But they're not allowed to say that God's watching you.
Well, and I know this may sound extreme to some of you, but probably not to most of our viewers. But here's the thing. I hear a lot, we have to have public schools because every child has the right to education.
Right.
I will take that a step further, and this is 100% truth.
Right.
Every child has the right before God to be raised with the knowledge of Jesus Christ.
Right, exactly.
Okay? And so, I don't agree in public schools. I don't think that they should exist. But if they are going to exist, let's kill two birds with one stone. Let's educate them. And let's tell them about Jesus Christ, because people would say, well, their parents aren't teaching them how to read and write at home. If their parent isn't teaching them how to know God and know Jesus at home, then by golly, let the public schools do it.
Here's the thing. Our founding fathers founded this country on religion and morality because they believed that you needed to teach kids in a system of rewards and punishments.
Correct.
Meaning if you do the right thing, even if nobody's watching, God will reward you. If you do the wrong thing, even if no one is watching you, you will be punished. It's a God thing. And whether you believe in that or not, it actually creates better human beings.
Right. It does not create worse human beings, by the way.
Exactly.
So there's no
harm.
My grandma, Marilyn, was in the hospital, and I was trying my darndest to get them to give her a vitamin drip. She's been malnourished. She hasn't been able to eat. And finally, I just said to one of the doctors, I said, listen, is it going to hurt or harm her to have a vitamin drip? Mm-hmm. Well, no. Then can she have it, please? Because I know you have the ability to write the script to have this done.
Yeah.
If it's not going to hurt her. So whether you think it's going to do the kids any good, having God, and this used to be widely known, forgive me for getting animated here, but you could see it in movies, and you'd see these godless, parents or whoever in society, the cowboy, well, little religion never hurt nobody none. It's true, okay? And when I say religion, I mean Jesus Christ, Christianity. Okay, obviously there are religions that can harm people, but seriously, Christianity has never Real Christianity,
the Christianity of our pilgrims, of our
has
founding
never
fathers,
harmed anybody. The twisting of it has, but real Christianity never has.
So our founding fathers founded this country based on Christian principles. Everyone was brought up according to the word of God.
Yes.
And according to, what is it? Love your neighbor. Do good to those who despitefully use you and persecute you. Work hard. If you don't work, you don't eat.
Yeah.
There's a whole list of things. I have a McGuffey reader, and it has Christian principles in it and Christian verses in it. The First English Primer, New England Primer, uses the whole alphabet through A to Z with scriptures, teaching morality things to kids. The Bible is clear. If you train up a child in the way they should go, when they're old, they won't depart from it. Okay? And everybody wants to know, why are these school shootings happening after 1960?
Yes.
We let birth control, pornography.
Yep.
Pornography was protected under free speech. Hugh Hefner generation. Moms left the home to work.
Yep.
Welfare in the 1960s. The state became the husband for especially black families.
Exactly.
Punishing women who married, taking away their benefits. They got stuck on the benefits, then saying if you got married, then we're going to take you off your benefits. So women didn't get married. It rose 72% in the black community. Single parent, single motherhood did. And so you have a whole myriad of things that creates a perfect storm. It's called a perfect storm for a reason. And then you have a school shooting as a result. You're not always going to spawn a tornado. And a tornado is the best example I can give of the school shooting. Right. But the conditions, they keep creating these same conditions. You take God out of society, godlessness, people don't know how to deal with pain and anguish, and they don't know how to, even pray for your enemies. They don't know how to deal with things. Even under Christianity, real Christianity of the founding fathers, there's no such thing as a public school system because you're not allowed to go take from somebody else.
So
for
this
yourself.
is really fitting. This is actually, I'm not going to start at the beginning, but it's called Necessity of Education. This is in the McGuffey 6 Eclectic Reader. Here, this is how kids used to be taught.
Probably from the late 1800s.
It is the star of hope in our dark horizon. Hang on, wait, let me all right, I am aware that our ablest patriots are looking out on the deep, vexed with storms, with great forebodings and failings of heart, for fear of the things that are coming upon us. And I perceive a spirit of impatience rising, and a distrust in respect to the perpetuity of our republic. And I am sure that those fears are well-founded, and I am glad that they exist. It is the star of hope in our dark horizon. Fear is what we need, as the ship needs wind on a rocking sea after a storm to prevent foundering. But when our fear and our efforts shall correspond with our danger, and the danger is past. For it is not the impossibility of self-preservation which threatens us, nor is it the unwillingness of the nation to pay the price of the preservation, as she has paid the price of the purchase of our liberties. It is inattention and inconsideration, protracted till the crisis is past, and the things which belong to our peace are hid from our eyes. And blessed be God, that the tokens of a national waking up, the harbinger of God's mercy, are multiplying upon us. We did not in the darkest hour believe that God had brought our fathers to this godly land to lay the foundation of religious liberty, and wrought such wonders in their preservation, and raised their descendants to such heights of civil and religious liberty, only to reverse the analogy of his providence and abandon his work. I could actually keep reading this. I have goosebumps. This is what... Lincoln? No, it was not Abraham Lincoln. I love this. Then here's another one. It says, depart from evil and do good and dwell forevermore, for the Lord loveth judgment. He forsaketh not his saints. They are preserved forever, but the seed of the wicked shall be cut off. The righteous shall inherit the land and dwell therein forever. The mouth of the righteous speaketh wisdom, and his tongue talketh of judgment. The law of his God is in his heart. None of his steps shall slide. The wicked watcheth the righteous and seeketh to slay him. The Lord will not leave him in his hand, nor condemn him when he is judged. Now, this is from the 37th Psalm. Now, I have to tell you something.
This is sixth graders.
Sixth graders. This is what they used to be taught. And our founding fathers wanted our children, you and I and our children, to be taught religion and morality. Okay? The fact that is taken out of our schools is why we have school shootings.
This is from 1879 and then reprinted in 1896. It's a revision of the McGuffey Reader. So to say that our founding fathers wanted some sort of separation of church and state in schools is absolutely insane, because if I spent years reading their writings, and I can just get paraphrased for you. John Jay, he said that I would rather have the principles, and not now, of Muhammad trained upon the children than to have them grow up wholly devoid of religion. And we can see how far that would go, because they knew how insane Islam was even then.
Let me take one more comment and then we can go to the president. You Are One of Us says, separation of church and state means that the state can't make laws against the church. Bibles can't be prevented from being on school grounds. They lie to you and you let them.
Yeah, and the biblical foundation should be embraced. And when biblical foundation is embraced, you create a whole society, whole people. They work hard. How do you think the greatest generation was the greatest generation of hard workers and people who sacrificed and prayed and got together? Is that still in our? It's not in our bathroom. That picture of the prayer, the what you call it, Norman Rockwell photo. This kind of gives
I love that you don't know where things are in our house.
It was in the bathroom forever. So this kind of gives an idea. This is a Norman Rockwell from the Saturday Evening Post in November 24th, 1951, with a little grandmother praying and these two kind of looking on, and a little kid praying. That was the essence, kind of like the 50s and 60s when God was literally being ripped out by communists, literal communists. The Bolshevik Revolution happened here in America. They wanted to destroy the family, take God out, because then you control people and things like that. So let's... So we have answers to this school shooting. You can fix it. Easy. Just bring God back. It's so easy to fix, but they don't want to, because then they have to look at themselves and look at their own sin, and they don't want to. And I say they, meaning the left and the liberals and the powers that be, deep state.
I have to begin by expressing our sadness and heartbreak over the deadly shooting at Santa Fe High School in Texas just took place moments ago. We're closely monitoring the situation, and federal authorities are coordinating with local officials. This has been going on too long in our country, too many years, too many decades now. We grieve for the terrible loss of life and send our support and love to everyone affected by this absolutely horrific attack. To the students, families, teachers, and personnel at Santa Fe High, we're with you in this tragic hour, and we will be with you forever. My administration is determined to do everything in our power to protect our students, secure our schools, and to keep weapons out of the hands of those who pose a threat to themselves and to others. Everyone must work together at every level of government to keep our children safe. May God heal the injured, and may God comfort the wounded, and may God be with the victims and with the victims' families. Very sad day. Very, very sad.
Yeah, so every time this comes up, I think Republicans, the only thing they're allowed to say right now is arm teachers and put in metal detectors and things like that. Because even they can't fathom reviving or, fixing the system. And so I don't know how many more it's going to take before people fall on their knees before God, but I do believe that people are falling on their knees before God. People are waking up. People are homeschooling. They are recognizing that maybe this formula is not producing the best and the brightest.
Well, Eric Mathis had left a comment earlier saying that they just got their curriculum. His wife, Terry, just got their curriculum, and their children are going to be starting school at 3 this year, homeschooling, and they have a little homestead. So here's the thing, guys. Leah's right, and you said something interesting. Your word that stood out to me was system. Fix the system. Well, guess what? I don't want my kids in a system. I don't have any. But if I ever do, and I don't want your kids in a system. I don't want anyone in a system. Okay? We shouldn't be in a system. We're part of the world here. This is not an assembly line for popping out, adults.
Right.
And it is. And unfortunately, the system is broken. The machine is broken, and we're popping out these not even adults. We're popping out these like morphed, I don't even know. It's like some sort of Star Trek thing where they're just not coming out normal anymore. It's really, really sad.
Yeah. So here's where the students being escorted. It's a video here I'm going to play.
ABC 13 Eyewitness News and Community Impact.
Of course, they're going to play a little ad before you get to watch their video. Like a long ad. ABC Eyewitness News.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sook says people keep calling it public schooling. It's government schooling. That's exactly what it is. Well said, Brian.
Yeah. So ABC was live here. See if they're still, looks like they're not still live. So I was going to bring you them. I was going to see who might give us some live updates. I don't know if Fox is covering it right now or not. So we'll see. They're on air now.
Take his own life earlier.
But in the run-up to the shooting, there were few, if any, alarm bells indicating Demetrius Pagorchis posed a fatal threat. His social media accounts did include things like pictures of guns, an interest in gun groups, a Nazi symbol, and a Born to Kill t-shirt that might look ominous in hindsight.
Did he just say little to none? That seemed pretty intense to me.
It did seem intense.
But there were no apparent threats, vendettas, or signs of mental instability, though some classmates say he may have been bullied. Watch.
My friends from the football team told me that coaches say that he smelled like right in front of his face. Like other kids just sit there, like look at him, laugh at him, talk about him. Nothing like physical, but they still, emotionally bullied him.
Isn't that neat that kid would say it like that?
Yeah, emotional.
But Pagorchis had good grades, played junior varsity football his freshman year, and danced for his Greek Orthodox church, and had no history of behavioral problems or trouble with the law. Contrast that with alleged Parkland, Florida shooter Nicholas Cruz, who in the 5 years prior to the attack at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High had 58 disciplinary actions, including violations that should have resulted in jail time. So Demetrius Pagorchis certainly didn't display the ticking time bomb qualities we usually associate with school shooters, but then again, the investigation is early and the most troubling signs might be yet to come. Melissa.
Trace Gallagher, thank you.
I think the signs that are there
My
are
next
pretty
guest
troubling.
unfortunately knows all too well what the families of these victims are going through right now. Andrew Pollock's daughter, Meadow, was killed in the Parkland, Florida mass shooting at Stoneman Douglas High School on February 14th, and he joins me now. Thank you for taking the time to be with us tonight. What was going through your mind when you saw this today?
Well, my heart sank to my stomach when I found out, when the text messages started to come in. And you know what? As the day went on, I'm getting angrier and angrier how this happened again. Like, how many kids in this country are going to let get murdered in a school? Like, when is enough? When is enough kids going to get shot in a school where we actually set up a perimeter with entry points and metal detectors?
Yeah. You feel
it's ridiculous already.
You feel like that would be, I know you're somebody who now goes around and you advocate for school safety. Is the perimeter at the top of your list of things that you think we need?
Well, listen, this is our society, what it's dealt to us. So we need to have single point entries, and there needs to be metal detectors. Look, you can't get on a plane with your shoes on. You got to take your shoes off to get on a plane. You can't get in a courthouse. You can't go into a football stadium.
Right.
So why is it acceptable to keep letting our kids get shot in a school? It's pretty simple. We need metal detectors at our schools, and that'll solve the problem. Our kids shouldn't go to school and feel that they're not safe, and our teachers too. We got to fix it, and that's what we need to do, that we could do this week.
Yeah. A lot of parents at home watching this feel like it's a situation that's out of control and they're frustrated the same way you are about nothing getting done. Help them take some action. What should they do if they go to their kids' school on Monday? What questions should they ask? What should they look for to try and keep their kids safe? It's a first step to go to that school. What should they look for?
They should go there and see how easy it is to get into school in the morning. Could anybody walk in? How many entry points are there? Do they have a school resource officer? This school in Texas, there could have been a lot more fatalities. I think they had 2 SRO officers at that school. So you got to look at the school, go back an hour later, make sure the gates are locked. Get involved with your school boards.
Yeah.
Also, people ask me, I just want to make a point. What could you say to these families that lost their children? There's nothing that anyone could say to a parent that lost a kid in a school shooting that's going to make them feel better. I just want the world to know that we have to take it serious, and enough's enough with letting our kids get shot. They're never going to be the same, these people, and it angers me that these parents now are going to feel like I do. And believe me, it's not fun. I haven't felt any better since February 14th. It's 90 days later, and I feel the same pain as the 14th. So there's nothing now these parents' lives are changed forever.
I know that you're suing a number of people, including Nicholas Cruz's parents, for wrongful death, or mother, pardon me, for wrongful death. And in this case, this was, as we're hearing in early reports, the gun belonged to the shooter's parents, may not have been locked up. We're still looking at these details. But what do you think about that? And do you think that in some cases, some of the parents need to be held responsible?
I think that they should really look into it. And being a responsible gun owner, you need to have your guns locked up. You can't have them where a minor has accessibility to be able to go get your gun. So I'm all for that. I think the parents should be held responsible. You'll see some things change if you start holding people accountable. And they should look into that, because I really think that they should have had those guns locked up.
There are
and it goes beyond that. How does he walks into a school with a shotgun? You can't walk into the courthouse. So why is it acceptable that this kid took a shotgun and walked into a school and shot these kids? It's enough. I keep getting angry as I think about this, and I look at the pictures. While I'm waiting to get interviewed, I'm looking at pictures of my daughter, and I'm saying, now there's 10 more families that have to live like I do.
And do you have any words for them to get through? I know you said that there's nothing you can say to make them feel better, because they won't feel better. But perhaps it's about joining the fight.
Yes, I welcome them to reach out to me. I would love for them to call me. I'll be there for them. That's all you could do for a parent that lost a kid, is just be there for them when they need you. There's nothing you could say that's going to take away the pain. But let's make sure it doesn't happen again. I'm going to go. I think I'm going to go to Texas.
Yeah.
That's what's going to be now, and I want to go see some of these families and just give them a hug and let them know that I know how they feel, because no one else knows how you feel until you lose a kid. And it's a horrible, horrible feeling, Melissa.
Yeah, I have no doubt. Our prayers are with you. Thank you for coming on tonight to help as you did. We appreciate it. We'll pray for change. Thank you.
Can you pause that?
Thanks, Melissa.
Is that just live?
All right, we are...
Okay, so I don't know what they're going to bring up.
Waiting right now the arraignment of the suspect in the case that we were just talking about, that shooting in Santa Fe, Texas. We will bring those details to you when we have them. Plus,
this has been going on too long.
All right, so I had a couple of thoughts as he was speaking, and so what had kind of, he's like, okay, now we have prison schools. I don't like the idea of the prison schools, because he was saying, the kids come in, make sure the gates are locked. I just see that as a recipe for disaster.
Then you're locked in.
Exactly. I have nightmares as an adult. Well, I probably haven't had one of these in like 5 years. But seriously, 5 years ago isn't that long. I would have nightmares of being at public school and I can't leave. I can't get out. And I'm thinking, I'm an adult. I have a cell phone. Why is it that I can't leave public school? And I really wasn't even mistreated in public school the way many were. But as an adult, I've come to realize just how awful it was. Okay, so I don't like that idea. I'm just going to throw that out. I don't like the idea of prison schools.
I don't either.
I think that metal detectors are a good idea, but here's why people don't want to do it. It's an inconvenience to the school time. So do these authorities actually care about your children? And the answer is probably not. They care about the system and getting it through the system. And it reminds me of Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London, with the terrorist attacks. He says, listen, this is just now a part of our life and we have to get used to it. So what a lot of these people on the left are saying, well, let's just do a massive gun grab and we'll still have to deal with the fact that these shootings are going to be a part of our life. You can't, school is already the most colossal waste of time ever. So I can see how metal detectors and sending each student in one by one, adding an extra at least half an hour to the school, would add, it is more waste of time. When Lee and I were homeschooled, we could get our entire day's worth of work done in like 3 hours, 2 hours. Okay, there is so much time that is wasted in the public school system.
They're daycare centers. They need to start calling them daycare centers.
Yeah, because so many parents are like, oh, I can't wait for school to start. My kid is driving me crazy. Well, you shouldn't have had your kid if they're going to drive you so much crazy that you have to send them to public school.
Right.
I'm sorry. You ought to just hand in your parent card if you're going to say that.
Yeah.
And I don't have anybody here specifically that said that, so I'm not offending anyone personally. But if I have ever seen you say that and you know me, I'm not happy with you. I don't like to hear that from parents. My kid's driving me crazy. School starts soon. Seriously? Do you know how many people out there that want to have children, that want to spend time with their children? So many moms that cry every day because they have to work because they can't afford to be at home with their children. If you don't want to spend time with your kids and be the parent that it requires 18 years of hands-on work, not just for 4 hours in the evening after soccer practice or whatever, then you shouldn't have had kids.
Yeah, the parents have handed off their responsibility to.
But it's not just a responsibility; it's a gift from the Lord. The Bible teaches us that children are a blessing.
Right.
Okay, and they're not just a blessing if you have a farm and then you have extra farm hands. They literally are a blessing into your life. If you don't, and I'm going to preach here for a second while you figure out what else you want to cover. And I say this to people all the time that think they're a good person and they're going to go to heaven and they kind of believe in God or whatever. If you don't want to worship and praise God for all of eternity, then you don't want to go to heaven and you probably will not. All right? If you do not want to spend as much time as you possibly can with the very short period of time that you are given the privilege to raise your children until they are 18. If you do not want that, if you do not crave that, if you do not want to be around your children, then you have a problem. And you don't love your kids the way that you should do. I'm not going to say you don't love your kids. I'm sure you love your kids. But you don't love your kids the way it is natural to love them. You got problems like mental issues. Okay? And maybe society has messed up your kid and that's why you don't want to be around your kid. Maybe you messed up your kid and that's why you don't want to be around your kid. But the way you fix it is by getting before God and spending hands-on time with your children. That is the answer. Sorry.
Yeah, so at this point it's real difficult. You have everybody on the left saying, with the NRA,
we will not rest, we will not relent until we end this evil in our time and make our schools safe again.
You're not going to make them safe, honestly.
Brian says, when I hear coworkers complaining about their wives and children, I tell them, I wish I had your problems. Mm-hmm. Well said, Brian.
Look, you played the clip spread 3 months ago. President Trump basically said the identical same thing as he said to...
Oh, here we go. Oh, here, this is the arraignment.
Okay, so this is the arraignment of...
what this kid is going through right now. Obviously...
Now, at first, the initial reports that I had heard was that he had killed himself, and I don't know what made that had come out.
He's not. He doesn't even look like he's injured.
Any questions? All right, when you're finished, they're going to work on the application a little bit later. Okay.
Dear God. Honestly, I do feel for this child.
I do too.
He's a child.
Yep.
That was raised in a way that makes me so sick. That somebody created this person that would do this. People, society, and the pain that he
one of those students
must
who had
still be
been
going
reported
through right
missing,
now.
Chris Stone, has been found confirmed dead. He was a junior at Santa Fe High School. So many people today talking to us live on the air about what a wonderful young man he was, and that they were hoping to find him. His father says he was, in fact, in that art class this morning where gunshot erupted. Now, we have also confirmed that Cynthia Tisdale, a teacher's aide, was also killed. In all, again, 10 people have died. We've also learned that all Santa Fe ISD schools are going to be closed on both Monday and Tuesday.
Some chilling moments there as
We're
we
done.
watched Demetrius
We're done.
right
It's
there
summer.
in court.
We're not coming back.
Noticing his head was down
Our
the
last day
entire
of school was
time.
today.
Interesting how he reacted there.
For our local
All right,
schools.
Santa Fe, by the way, is the 14th school shooting of 2018. The 14th already this year that has left at least one person hurt or killed. This year alone, 30 people have died, 55 others have been wounded in school shootings all across America here, and you can see those.
Now, how many students are in school? Google that. How many American students? How
I don't
many?
even know if that's
K through
even
12?
Googleable.
Yeah. How many? Yeah. American students. Number of American students K through 12. Well, they just stopped on us. Okay. No. There we go. All right. So we've got 50.7 million students will attend public elementary and secondary schools. And so 30 have been killed, 50 wounded. You have a 1 in a million chance, and less than that to be killed.
Right.
Okay, so while we just need to put it in perspective, we get so upset at this, and we talk about gun deaths, and we talk about violence, and we talk about, you know, even terror attacks, right? But the odds are not very big. Like in Europe, they're getting big. I mean, the mass shooters are, the religion that shall not be named is killing hundreds of people at a time.
Yep.
You know? And there's an ideology there that just keeps going and just keeps festering, that causes people to do things. But
so I think what you're getting at here is, so the gun grabbers are wanting to grab all of Americans' guns based on a 1 in a million chance that your child will be injured in a school shooting in America. Okay? Mm-hmm. Which is absurd. It's absolute insanity. That being said, there's not a way to put a stat on how many kids come out of public school broken. Mm-hmm. Okay? So the public school is harming children. Suicides of teenagers are probably far greater, and I would say that public schools are a huge contributor of that.
So we need to ban sports, because 8,000 kids go to the emergency room every day for a sport-related injury.
Yeah.
8,000.
Probably sports that are taking place at school.
In 2008 and 2009, there were 120 sports-related deaths. In 2010, there was 49. And so sports and school shootings seem to be about the same, but our parents pulling their kid, the odds of your kid...
How are sports and school shootings the same?
They're not.
But you just said they just seem to be about the same. The sports are far more...
No,
you mean in deaths? Because injuries, 8,000 injuries is pretty huge.
8,000, yeah, I was thinking about deaths, but injuries is 8,000 is huge. So,
every day.
So are parents going to pull their kids out of sports because you have a better chance being injured or killed?
We had a very dear friend that died playing soccer, just hit her head, boom, dead.
Yeah. And those are the odds of getting shot and killed.
Yeah.
But you definitely have more of an odd of your child being injured in a sport.
But my
so I wanted to put those out there to get people thinking.
Yeah.
So I want to put up a barrier. I want to do this, but it's enough. When is enough, right?
But I was kind of, my point, and I'm glad that you made that point, but what I was trying to say is, what we're looking at here is we are seeing a society that is breaking little human after little human after little human and shoving them into society. And that's far more damaging than the few deaths that we see here. And yet there is not an outcry against public school altogether.
Right.
And I have an admonition for our viewers that do send their children to public school. And I don't want this to come out sounding heartless, because my heart is in it, and that's why I'm saying it. But every single time you as a parent send your child to be in the care of another person, whatever happens to your child while they are there is your responsibility.
Right.
They are always your responsibility. So while my heart breaks for the families of these victims, it was their responsibility to know that their child is in a place that is safe and that no one is going to harm them, body, soul, or mind. And every time you send your kid to public school, you don't know. You can't have a guarantee. So when you stand before God, God's not going to take I don't know what happened. They were at school and this happened. God's going to say, you let them go there? You sent your child to this place. I entrusted you with this gift. I didn't entrust you to send this gift somewhere else. I entrusted you with this gift. And you guys need to take that home really heavily. And it's an unfortunate fact. It's just true. Your child is your responsibility. They're waking hours.
So at this point, guys, I have brought you everything. I've given you all the answers that I have. I don't have anything else. It's sad. It's really sad, and I'm sorry. And we could rehash Columbine, and we could rehash these things.
Well, and you could go into details. And I think the reason why we went into so many details with Nicholas Cruz and all these other shootings is because they seemed like false flags. They seemed like it was a setup, and you can see that after Parkland,
right?
The way they're shoving these kids out into the limelight. With this, I just get the feeling that we are looking at a societal issue that dropped the ball on a young man.
So CNN, we just heard 22 school shootings. CNN said that the school shootings this year are 22. The list of school shootings used by CNN and other news outlets, however, widely exaggerates the number by lumping in accidental firearm discharges, domestic disputes, and events that don't involve students with the active shooter situations that most people don't lump into the specific category of school shootings. The CNN list includes one shooting incident in Alabama where one person was injured at an on-campus apartment building.
So then all of a sudden it's school shooting.
Another shooting at Savannah State University in Georgia is counted despite the fact the two people involved were not even students. Many media outlets also pull their numbers from Every Town for Gun Safety, a nonprofit gun control advocacy.
All right, Patriot Gallery. So, since Lee and I are preaching about parents and we are not, let's hear from one.
Well, now that you berated everybody, it's really not their fault, parents. It's not your fault. I had to struggle for years, back and forth from public school to homeschool. I knew to homeschool children. But because of places like the euro and because of the paper dollar, people can sin so easily, and they have all these forces and pressures to make you sin. You have to have more and more of this paper dollars. You can't live without it. Do you believe this? It's all a lie. So how do you stop? What do you do? The gospel of Jesus Christ is the power of God. You need the power of God. You can't do anything right. And people got to wake up. You can't do anything right without the power of God. You can't do anything right without the truth of the Holy Spirit. So you have to spend time alone with God for your mind to heal. And you have to see that your children spend time alone with God too. That really drives them crazy. It does drive you crazy because you used to get up and go, get up and go, get up and go. You've been trained since you were infants. Get up and go.
It's like Pavlov's dog.
And to sit there and wait on God so he might strengthen your mind and give you wisdom and help you is next to impossible.
Right.
But you got to know that, I need the power of God. You can't do anything right without the power of God. Jesus said, wait in Jerusalem till you receive power. Okay, that's what the problem with the Bible. The Israelites kept going back and sinning. This is mankind's problem. They always sin because you need the power of God. That's why Jesus died, so he might send the Comforter, the Holy Spirit, to us, that we might have the power of God. So I'm not putting anybody on any guilt trips, But you got to realize it's wrong to send your kids to school because you went there, and the first thing you say, there's nothing wrong with me. Well, you've been conned by the Federal Reserve all these years, so there's something wrong if you could be so easily conned. So, you know, and spend your whole life working with somebody else, you die and you've never lived. You've never really lived a life. Driving a fast motorcycle, driving a fast car, having a fancy house is not living. Jesus said he says us for your sins so we can love. When you love in the power of God, that is living.
So, I wanted
your Jubilee.
Yes, 2018. I really believe things are going to change this year. We've seen the election of Donald Trump. We've seen, you know, this whole satanic, evil dragon raise their head because we all post things on Facebook and YouTube. And I mean, seriously, like, well, the devil is literally losing and we're winning. So I want to give you hope and to not look at this shooting as something negative, in that it takes away from our victories that we're having, but as a symptom of the society that we're in that still needs to be healed. And I want to bring you a few quotes here from our founding fathers on education. If you want to get some founding fathers direct source, direct quotes, a trusted source that I always go to is wallbuilders.com, David Barton. So a young Daniel Webster recounted a conversation he had with the elderly Thomas Jefferson. And Jefferson told him, I have always said, and always will say, that the studious perusal of the sacred volume, the Bible, will make better citizens, better fathers, and better husbands. The founding fathers believed that it was their duty not only to rely on the Bible, but to also teach it to their children. For example, John Adams, who spent a good portion of the war for independence away from his family, outlined this to his precious wife, Abigail, on the education that their children should receive. The education of our children is never out of my mind. The education of our children is never out of my mind.
I'm getting Sydney something.
Train them to virtue. Habituate them to industry, meaning work hard, activity, and spirit. Make them consider every vice as shameful and unmanly.
Every vice. And unmanly. I like that. Every vice is shameful and unmanly.
Porn is unmanly.
Porn is very
Fire
unmanly.
them with the ambition to be useful. Make them disdain to be destitute of any useful or ornamental knowledge or accomplishment.
Can you pause that for 1 second? Because
their vocabulary is so much better than ours, you might not understand that sentence.
When I hear this word useful, I was raised, and I don't know, I guess I just assumed everybody else was too, but my mom always raised me to be the type of person in a situation where if somebody, you know, has their hands full, you run up and you try to grab them. If you're having a conversation with somebody and they're actually doing something, let's say they're digging a hole to plant a tree, or I don't know what else it is, you grab a shovel, you join in, and it is a blessing and it is a gift to be useful, to be helpful, and we are missing that in society today. Because you think of like Leave It to Beaver, and I know that's fake and really stupid, but even on television back then, they were training children to do things like that. You see, you know, hi, Mrs. Smith, let me come help you carry your groceries inside. And then little Bobby comes and helps her carry her groceries inside because he just sees, and then she gives him, 10 cents or whatever, and he goes and gets an ice cream cone. I don't care if he's doing it for the ice cream cone. He's doing it because it's the helpful thing to do. As a society, we had children that were raised to do that. Now we have children that are raised to, Sydney's just down there messing with the camera, that are raised to fear everyone. There's a boogeyman, and there really is a boogeyman behind every corner. But seriously, I mean, we have these kids that are just, every time I'm with them, this is what I see. I'm having a conversation, and this is it. Do you like school now? Yes. I mean, seriously, that's what I get. And that is the society of kids that we are raising. They're not taught to be useful.
So the next,
finish your thing.
The sentence I'm going to repeat again. Make them disdain to be destitute of any useful or ornamental knowledge or accomplishment. And what he means that when you see somebody know how to weave a basket, or you see somebody know how to raise chickens, or you see somebody know how to, change the oil. I want to know that.
Yeah.
I want to know that. Oh, I don't know that?
Yeah.
Teach me. I want to know.
Yes.
Teach me. I want to know. I want that. Teach me, right? Fix their ambition upon great and solid objects. So like the magazine Pop Sugar or whatever, not really solid. and their contempt upon little, frivolous, and useful ones, and useless ones. So I don't need to know that. I don't want to know that. That's frivolous and stupid, right? John Quincy Adams took the lessons he learned from his own parents to heart and later encouraged his own son to read the Bible for the wisdom and virtue it encouraged. He would read 3 chapters a day and study them every day. I advise you, my son, in whatever you read, and most of all in reading the Bible, to remember that it is for the purpose of making you wiser and more virtuous. I have myself for many years made it a practice to read through the Bible once every year. I have always endeavored to read it with the same spirit and temper of mind, which I now recommend to you, that is, with the intention and desire that I may contribute to my advancement in wisdom and virtue. Wisdom and virtue. And these are the things that used to be taught prior 1960.
Yes.
To kids. Wisdom and virtue. They don't even know what the word virtue means anymore. Right?
Right.
Thomas Paine penned this Age of Reason, attacking Christianity in the Bible. Founding fathers Elias Boudinot wrote a book to refute Paine, dedicating the book to his daughter Susan, telling her, "I was much mortified to find the whole force of this man's vain genius pointed at the youth of America. This awful consequence created some alarm in my mind, lest at any future day you, my beloved child, might take up this plausible address of infidelity. I have endeavored to show his extreme ignorance of the divine scriptures, not knowing that they are the power of God unto salvation to every one that believes." Clearly, our founders were fathers considered the Bible to be indispensable for their lives, and to pass that on. And that's just like part of... There's so much of the founding fathers on education. I have the quotes upstairs. The Northwest Ordinance that was penned, George Washington, you know, when they're creating Ohio was part of the Northwest Ordinance, said that in these territories, religion and morality being necessary to good government, schools and means of education shall forever be encouraged.
So George here says, different George, Amsden the third, says, a need to close public schools and start sending our youth to homeschool or church schools. Just my opinion. I couldn't agree more with you on that, George, because, like I said earlier, every child has the right to be educated.
Yeah.
So in that, if you are not going to take your child's education into your own hands, as it is your responsibility, it's not the responsibility of the state or the government. Public school is a welfare. For anybody that uses it, you're using welfare. If you're not going to take your child's education into your own hands, if you want them to be raised in an atheistic private school, that is your right. Do so. But if you are too poor to provide for your child's education, there should only be one option, and that is charitable schools. More often than not, those charitable schools are going to be done by churches. Right. And so we would have a far more healthy society if people would get out of their heads that it is the state's responsibility to educate students instead of allowing charitable private schools to educate those that cannot afford education.
So I'm just going to go over a few other things, and then we're probably going to sign off, because the other big news today was, or yesterday, was that Donald Trump mentioned that MS-13 or whatever, they were animals. And so now that you had Anna Navarro saying that
Trump said all immigrants were animals.
That even MS-13 are human, and you can't call them animals, even though she has a tweet calling Trump an animal.
No, they're animals. And I think that it was Sarah Huckabee Sanders, when she was asked about that, pretty much said, you know what? Actually, animal isn't a strong enough word for what those monsters are.
Right.
I don't know what her exact quote was, but it was something like that.
So we're also going to be hearing some more out of the IG report. And Tucker Carlson had on, let's see if I can find this clip. Here, here's Nancy Stinky Pelosi talking about MS.
Subject of immigration again. It reminds me that, and as I was talking about the religious groups and how they're concerned about feeding the hungry and Gospel of Matthew and the rest, 41 million people in our country are food insecure. We believe, some of us who are attracted to the political arena, to government and public service, that we're all God's children. There's a spark of divinity in every person on earth, and that we all have to recognize that as we respect the dignity and worth of every person.
That is her defending MS-13. There's a spark of divinity even in MS-13. We have to respect even that divinity in MS-13.
So guess what, Nancy? I'm going to tell you something. You know God created the devil, right? So it could equally be said that there's a spark of divinity in the devil.
Here's the
no, you're wrong, lady. You're not only cray-cray, you're wrong.
2018 Democrat platform. We're raising taxes. Your tax returns are crumbs. MS-13 are people too. Hamas is innocent. Law-abiding gun owners are terrorists and ban guns. So that's pretty much what they're going to be running on. And my buddy. See, I want to do a whole show on this. Our buddy Thomas
Massey. We were going to do our weekly roundup, and then there was a shooting.
He is putting forth a bill either today, I think today or next week, maybe yesterday, today. Let's see if there's a new one. Should the federal government arrest you for transporting raw milk between 2 states in which raw milk is legal? I think not. We will likely be voting on my raw milk amendment to the farm bill today or tomorrow, which was yesterday and today. So we drink raw milk. It's good for you. Good gut bacteria. You can make butter, yogurt, all kinds of good things.
It literally can heal your body of a multitude of health issues.
Thank you to the 72 Republicans and 7 Democrats who voted for food freedom today. Oh, yeah, I have good news. I need to make a whole video on this myself.
We do need to make a whole
video. So this is what we do every Tuesday. See these jars? We pick up raw milk from an Amish milk drop. You have to be part of a herd share in Ohio.
So we technically own a part of the cow. That's the only way to legally get around
this. We had somebody come here to buy piglets today. And she is thinking of starting her own little herd share and asked us to be part of it and go actually milk the cow once a week. I told her I'm down with that, man. I love the cream. You make whipped cream. You make the butter. You make the cheese. You drink the milk. I put milk in everything. You make buttermilk. It's just like
for those of you that are not aware, homogenization in milk creates free radicals in your body. It is one of the absolute worst things that you can drink. So guess what? When it says milk does a body good, if you're drinking pasteurized, homogenized milk, it is doing your body bad
harm. And
stop drinking it.
When you take the cream off of it and you drink just skim milk, your body doesn't digest it well.
So a lot of people that are lactose intolerant, it is because they are no longer getting the proper fats that the raw milk helps your body to digest the lactose in milk.
Enough with this pasteurization without representation, protested Representative Thomas Massey, the Kentucky Republican, wants to make it easier for small-scale farmers to sell raw milk. His outrage spilled onto the House floor. Massey, who has also tried to make it easier for small-scale farmers to sell beef, pork, and lamb, got a chance Friday to change federal law he considers too oppressive when it comes to what the Americans eat and drink. His bid failed. 79 to 331.
These are your representatives that are insane.
He knew Big Milk was opposed, the lactose lobby he charged. What's funny is that the liberals wouldn't vote for it. The lefty liberals who are all about like the environment.
Oh yeah, green, whatever.
They're not for the environment. The next time a lefty politician says that they're for the environment, they lie. They all lie. They're such liars. So he said he knew Big Milk was opposed to it. The lactose lobby he charged is very intolerant of freedom. The dairy industry hailed the plan's defeat, saying it would have led to an increased risk of foodborne illnesses. But I will give you some facts. There are more people who get sick from homogenized, pasteurized milk because the good bacteria in raw milk actually can kill things. Whereas you pasteurize it, it's done. It just grows bad bacteria.
Not only that, but the reason why we have pasteurization and homogenization in our milks today is still the practice is still carried out right now, but it is such that the conditions of the milk are so unsanitary that they have to pasteurize it.
There's pus and blood in it.
You're drinking pus, blood, all kind of nasty, disgusting things, but it's okay because we're going to pasteurize it.
All his bill wanted, see, it's legal in all the states, from what I understand. All he wanted in the bill was so that you could transport your legal raw milk
to another
state. That's it.
And these representatives are so insane that they couldn't even vote for that.
He said, due to its increasing popularity, however, more than 24 states now allow the sale of raw or unpasteurized milk. Massey's plan would have allowed the trade of unpasteurized milk or milk products between the states where distribution is already legal. What's the deal? He suggests this would prevent situations such as the armed 2010 raid of a Pennsylvania farm by FDA agents looking for raw milk products. What crime could they possibly be going after? Thomas Massey asked. Is it a human trafficking ring or is it a drug bust? No, they're after an Amish farmer selling raw milk straight from the cow. Fellow lawmakers were not convinced there are any benefits to bypassing pasteurization. He likened it to drinking water out of the hoof print in dirt. Somebody, Representative Roger Marshall, a representative from Kansas.
So, Roger Marshall, I have news for you. Do you know that dirt is actually really healthy for you? It also helps to fight bad things off. So, you could drink from the
Massey did get backing from a dairy state lawmaker, Representative Glenn Grothman from Wisconsin, who said there are a number of raw milk enthusiasts in his district. Chiropractors, nurses, veterinarians are the ones who feel strongly about drinking raw milk. The healthy people with fit bodies, they're the ones drinking the raw milk. I guarantee all of them. Like seriously, the healthy people are the ones going at the raw milk. The sick, obese, fat, ugly people, I'm sorry, it makes me mad. These people are fat, ugly people who voted against this. Fat and ugly, right? I got to tell you, they're ugly in their hearts, they're ugly in their spirits, because
and
that's
what you really mean, because it is true. These people are ugly, and I think Mama Donna had said something about if it is really good for you and if it can heal the body, well then of course Big Dairy is going to want to shut it down.
I believe this is the first time Congress has ever voted on raw milk. The FDA banned interstate sales without any legislative input. My amendment would have reversed that ban without overriding any state regulations. It's just, it makes me a little upset.
It would have been a very small step in the right direction, but they're stonewalling this. And I want to let you guys know why. Because you guys may be thinking, are our representatives just that dense, that stupid, that they can't listen to a sound-minded argument? As a matter of fact, no. They're not that dense and they're not that stupid, and they do understand that the argument is sound that Thomas Massey is making. But they all wear these NASCAR patches, and they are bought off by big ag, big agriculture, and big dairy, which is why Thomas Massey is hitting his head against a wall, because these people, their pockets are lined by people who have a stake in the game, and big dairy is the one and only reason, literally the only reason why raw milk is illegal.
It comes down to Kraft, Breyers, all these people who use these milk, they want it cheap.
Yep.
They're putting dairy farmers out of business. It takes, most dairy farmers either have to have second jobs or they get government subsidies. They're not making... They don't
want the people to know that you don't need the government.
They don't want the people...
You
Yeah.
do everything yourself.
You can do most things yourself. You don't. Well, you certainly don't need the government.
Right.
And when you have raw milk, I mean, you're cutting out the butter industry. You're cutting out the cheese industry. You're taking from the ice cream industry.
I want to let you guys know into a little secret we've covered on our show once or twice before, or mentioned it, I guess I should say, is that, do you understand why they push skim milk on you?
Yeah.
Do you know why they push 1% and 2% milk on you? Whole milk is more expensive. Do you know why it's more expensive? Because there's more milk in the milk. So you've got the ice cream and you've got the cheese people and you've got all these people that want that cream and they want it cheap. So they've now sold you essentially what is watered down milk at the same price that they should be selling you whole milk. And then they get to take the good stuff and send it off to...
So this is the raw milk we drink, and because it takes a lot of milk to make this cheese, and we're so used to eating cheese...
It's like cold.
This is awesome. From the raw milk cheese. This is baby Swiss cheese.
It's so good.
I gotta tell you, I get it for way cheaper than you can get it at the store even, and it's better than the store cheese. And I get Colby and baby Swiss from them, and they have like 6 kinds. And like I said, it's cheaper than at the store.
And when we have excess milk, Leah will make our own soft cheeses.
They're the same price as the store. It's cheaper than raw milk cheese.
Hard cheese is expensive to make because it takes a lot to make that. You can make soft cheese out of you make yogurts for us and sour creams and things like that when we have extra.
Cream cheeses, a lot of cream cheeses.
A lot of cream cheese.
Soft cheeses. So we're going to end on that. I'm glad that Thomas Massey was actually able to get this put forth. In summer of 2015, we were at the Farm and Consumer Legal Defense Fund conference, and we got to hear from Thomas Massey, and he said he was going to put this forth, and he said he had bipartisan support. It was supposed to be bipartisan, but
you can be bipartisan on an issue, but still bought off by, and that's where that's what it boils down to. The right and the left are all bought off by big dairy, okay, by big ag and all these other such things, and that's why the support can be bipartisan, because it's somebody that's not owned by big ag. Stuart the Brit had a question. Michelle, how long does raw milk keep for? I'm gonna blow your mind, son. It just keeps. Now, if you want to keep drinking it as milk, you may not like the way that it tastes, but you can consume. We could leave this raw milk out in this jug, and we could just let it sit there for a few days, and then what will happen is you will see a separation, and you'll have on the bottom the whey,
curds and whey,
and you'll have the curds on top. Okay, and that's when you're talking about the curds and the whey. You can create cottage cheese out of that. It just turns into something else, like a butterfly, at which point you can still consume the whey, you can still consume the curds, and so it just kind of goes on to a new metamorphosis of something that you can actually consume. In Europe, they leave their eggs out. It's actually not legal, from what I understand, to refrigerate eggs, because once you refrigerate them, then they get wet and they lose their precious coating. When we pull our eggs in from our chickens, they sit on the counter. They never go into the refrigerator.
We've never had eggs go bad.
Well, because we eat them fast enough. But they'll last at least 3 weeks. I don't know how long it is.
A couple months, sometimes.
Yeah.
Depending on the temperature. And
so, seriously, God's things
don't go bad.
Now,
like
honey will last you forever. Wheat berries.
They found cheese, like 1,000-year-old cheese in bogs at the bottom of a lake,
and it was still edible.
Like,
now, I'm gonna eat it. I'm gonna eat it.
It was still edible. Like, you could eat it and not get sick.
Right, but I'm not gonna do that.
Me neither.
You still need to check on that ham out in the tent, Leah.
I'm scared too. I have to make a video on it.
We salted one of our own hams and left it outside to cure. The Amish do this, and Leah's been too scared to check on it.
I'm gonna look at it and then I'm gonna toss it because I'm just scared of. We're still learning these things. I think if it had cured under, like, right above freezing the whole time, but we had a couple warm days.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. There are things that will blow your mind about. A lot of people say, I could never go back to before electricity. Ice houses aside, there are ways to preserve food without refrigeration. Fermenting vegetables is one way. Sauerkraut, making kimchi, things like that.
And all these things are so good for you.
They are so good. So why are we so sick as a society? Why are these children sick? I'm going to tell y'all something. I'm going to tell you right now. Because somebody had left this comment in here about vaccines and stuff. In all honesty, I can't hold a single person after 1990 solely responsible for a crazed act. Because when the vaccine schedule quadrupled or whatever it was in 1990, these people have been given mind-altering.
Right.
So what happens while we're talking about the cheese is a lot of times when we see the vaccine reaction of a child that goes crazy, they have a reaction, they go to the doctor pumps them full of antibiotics, which is ridiculous. If they're having a reaction to a vaccine, antibiotics is not going to help a single thing, but this is what they do. They pump them full of these antibiotics, kill the gut bacteria, and it's crucial during a child's developing infant through toddler stage to have that healthy balance of gut bacteria. We know this with our piglets as well. And if they don't get it, it literally alters the brain. And that's why we see so much ADD, Tourette's, what's the other one I'm thinking of? Autism. It's because of that gut bacteria zappage.
It's one reason.
It's crazy how much it affects the mind. So many people, even in today, that don't have a healthy gut bacteria. Y'all need to read Dr. Axe, A-X-E, apostrophe S, his book, Eat Dirt. Okay? Because we have IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, rampant in our society today because people's guts are so messed up, and it leads to a multitude of things that you would never even think could be related. Arthritis, you name it. So, all right, we've preached enough. I'm really sorry.
So don't
Today's a
forget
tragic
to like,
day.
comment, and subscribe to Mass Faith Theory and Resistance Sticks. Ring the bell for notifications. Find us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Remember, it's not just a conspiracy theory if it's the truth.
We love you guys. God loves you. We're praying for the victims.
107 45150. Milford, Ohio. Kelly is going to come sometime.
Hopefully soon. Did you get my email, Kelly?
Get some piglets, so we're excited to make that transaction.
And hopefully we'll be able to do a little live video when the PB fam gets here. So that'll be fun. You guys can look forward to that. But I think we should close in prayer.
Yes.
Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you this day of tragedy when these families down in Texas, not only of the victims, but just students and people that knew the people involved in this horrific incident, are mourning today, Father God. And we lift up their hearts to you because there is nothing that anyone can say or do that can heal or make these people feel better, but you can, Father God. And I just pray that you give hope to people that are feeling like this is a hopeless situation when we talk about these things and we feel like there's nothing that we can do to make it better. You are the God that created the universe, that spoke life into existence, that perpetuates life even today. And so we know that there is nothing too hard for you. And I just pray that you rise up Christians all over this world as warriors that can help bring about the change that needs to happen. And I pray that you draw men unto you and you comfort them and give them wisdom to know how to change this world and to deal in situations and to say the things that need to be said. And may we keep silent no longer and speak out your gospel and your truth that is the only way to bring righteousness back to this earth. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. And so hopefully sometime in the next few days we'll probably sing our We Will Not Be Found in Last Place song. I think probably not today.
No.
But we're praying for the families, and you should too. And pray that truth will come out of all of this situation. And let's have some real change. And let's, yeah.
And we'll see you guys back here on Sunday at 1 for our European and UK show. And so maybe we might hit a little bit American news that we missed because we didn't get to do it for our weekly roundup today. We'll see. All right, you guys. God bless.